how we're starting every one of these episodes now. Man, welcome to the new 20's, episode 2.
This is fun, man.
This is fun. I'm Charles Mockler, if you didn't listen to the first episode.
Yeah, and I'm Caleb, man. I hate saying my last name sometimes, so I'll just leave it at Caleb.
Hey, man. You don't give them the full name. Welcome to the new 20's. If you didn't listen to our first episode, we just kind of recapped how we got here. Podcast is about being, the new 20 in the worst year of our entire existence so far, it seems like.
Man, 2020, 6 months in, has been trash. If I could find another word for it, I would, but
I don't think I could put together the worst 6 months of the world and make a worse 6 months than these first 6 months.
I will say though,
for the United States specifically.
There's been you can find like some quiet revelation in like not having to work every day, but also still having to work every day. Yeah, but also still having to work every day. Like the dynamic of work has changed, but at the same time, you're just like,
oh my God, the dynamic of work. So when I cover the Clippers for like a podcast I do and a beat writer type thing, but I have a regular 9 to 5 and I have to work from home. That 9 to 5 is a 10 to 2. I'm not. No one's putting in a full 8 hours. I don't think.
No. And the crazy part is, people are saying production has gone up. I've talked to a number of people who said their jobs have said production has gone up in whatever their field they're in.
Yeah,
because people are working from home, and I'm like,
you're hanging out. Yeah. So like, I do SEO, which is like you just make stuff rank well on Google.
Yeah,
it's not a labor, there's no real deadline type thing. You're just like, oh, this works, and it's just maybe we're relaxed. I got my cat, my girlfriend and I hanging out. Work is great when you're at home.
Yeah. Let's talk about backdrops real quick. What you got behind you?
Oh man, okay. So today's backdrop is pretty pertinent because we're going to be talking our time at how our, I guess, views of college were shaped at St. John's, and
that's what that is. Oh my God.
So the backdrop, if you're not watching this podcast, is it's a culinary school in New York.
Shout out to Research and Discovery. Jeez, I don't know who's in that department for our podcast, but they did a great job on the backdrop.
Where we were told to get a tour of this culinary school in New York, and we were told to get this tour. We were told to lie to get this tour. Am I wrong?
No, you're not. I'm laughing already because this story is, as we go on, you guys will hear how ridiculous this story is. But yeah, we were told by our professor
in a history of New York class, not a food class. This was just a history of New York class.
Well, it was Discover New York, and it was supposed to be Discover New York through the different cultures of food. And she specifically told us to lie to these people so they give you a good tour. Yeah. And so they actually give you a tour that, will be worth reporting about. But that's a great backdrop. And I wish I would have picked a backdrop that would have culminated with the actual episode. But that's hilarious.
You picked a good backdrop. What's your backdrop?
Mine is a mural, which was in Baltimore on the west side, in Emerson Village, if you guys want to get specific. But it was on a building there, and I probably drove by this building hundreds, if not thousands of times with my mom, just being in Emerson Village a lot. And it was one of my favorite murals pretty much in the city. And now to know that building has been knocked down, obviously, along with the mural, kind of sucks. I honestly don't know what was in the building. So they probably could have, knocked it down. But I don't know what you do with a mural if you knock a building down. So I guess you have to knock it down with it. So I went so far as finding it, a picture of it online, and I actually got it printed. It's hanging in my apartment. There's another mural I want that I'll when I go in town, I'll try to take a picture of it and hang it on my wall as well. So just gives me a little bit of Baltimore while I'm out here in the land, as they call it.
What neighborhood are you living in right now?
Far from my humble beginnings in West Baltimore, I'm living in a suburb of Cleveland. I won't say which one, but
what a time!
It's a southwest suburb of Cleveland.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah. So yeah, it's it's cool. It's very it's the what you think a suburb is. It's a suburb, so it's not bad. I've kind of grown to suburb life, being a nomad. But I think I might move in the city if I stay here any longer. So
Yeah, I hope for your sake you move into the
Yeah.
city.
I
And
like quiet suburb life though. It's very convenient.
I can
Like
see liking it.
you can always find a parking spot. There's no
I'm in LA,
issues
so
there. Yeah.
hey, you got me sold.
Yeah, there's like suburb, like you pull in the Target, has everything you need. Except man, except when you get to
Hey
like the
man.
ethnic items. Like I live in this suburb I live in. I realized, and that'll be in my next book that I write, or my
Yeah,
first
of
book,
course.
will be nomad. Being a black nomad is very interesting. I've moved what 4 or 5 times in the last 6, 7
Hella
years.
yeah.
Yeah, and so finding out that each target is different depending on the neighborhood you're in is definitely a chapter that I'll put down. But yeah,
The
it's cool,
the
man.
Missoula Target would not be able to help you
No,
out.
my beard products are scarce out here, so
I wanted to do a study about that because I noticed a thing about uh, Subways, the music they play in Subway sandwich restaurants in
really,
different
that's a thing.
places. Yes.
So I don't frequent Subway enough to know that.
So in Missoula, Montana, you usually have someone in high school who works at Subway, and you just get free Subway for 4 years,
Understood.
which is tight. But there's like a Subway radio station, but I think it's different regionally,
Hmm.
which regionally means a lot of different things to certain corporations. So I'd like to do some research into that.
Learn something new every day.
There you go. But
Yeah.
let's get into the St. John's education struggles.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So St. John's, for the most part, you talked about it kind of after we stopped recording last time. It's the Oxford style of education.
Mm-hmm.
So like everyone kind of lives together. I like you talked about the Discover New York class. The idea of it was great.
Yeah. Oh no, I think they had a lot of good premises to their style of education. The execution, not the greatest. And
Lot to be desired.
to be fair to St. John's and the people who did finish their career there, we spent what 4 months in total. It was freshman year,
Yeah.
4 months. So our basis is based off of those 4 months
Fleeting
of
glimpse.
freshman 4 months. So
Yeah.
if you guys continued, and more power to you to the ones that did. We appreciate your efforts. And so you obviously have a different outlook than we do. You
For
guys
sure.
got to, do a spring semester there and all those other things. But for us, we can base our experiences off those 3 to 4 solid months of first semester St. John's.
Which are supposed to hook you. Theoretically, those first 3 to 4 months, you're
So-
supposed to be in for the next 3.5 years.
So this is the greatest place on earth. Like that's how
Yeah,
you're
like-
supposed to feel walking out of there. But
Yes.
you want to go into winter break. Like I can't wait to get back to my friends. I can't wait to get back to campus. Like,
Yeah.
and I had some great friends there. Like I wouldn't be like, oh, I hated the people there. Like I still have good friends that my roommate was one of the good guys, and then a couple people that we had friends with in our dorm. So
Yeah.
I'm not gonna be like that type of person. But educationally, I mean,
I didn't learn shit.
it was
if
a
I'm being
joke.
Totally
It was
honest.
kind of a joke sometimes, except for that econ class I dropped because that was way too hard.
We all dropped the econ class. It was taught by a guy who he sounded like the smartest economist I've ever met in my life.
Easily.
And I was intimidated, so I dropped that class after you because I wasn't smart enough. But I think like the microcosm of kind of what, or I guess a good example of kind of what it was as a whole was that trip we talked about where they were like, hey, this is a 7 a.m. 3-day-a-week class, which would sometimes be canceled. We would find out by showing up.
No doubt.
Which was horrible. And yeah, we had to go to this culinary school and be like, hey, it was Caleb, myself, and then our roommate from New Hampshire, who was from, I can't remember where in New Hampshire. It's all near each other, so it can't be too different from other parts.
It's New England, so it's all the same.
Yeah. We had to go to this, like a legitimate culinary school. Like this wasn't like a Le Cordon Bleu, which might be legit. I don't know, but it wasn't a school that I'd seen advertised on TV.
Mm-mm.
You know what I mean?
Well, it did make a television appearance.
Oh, it did. But it was wild because it was the first time a teacher had told me to explicitly lie about anything ever. I'd never heard a teacher at any level of education be like, they're going to ask you this question. Lie about that. Like, don't say what's really going on. That's an insane thing to tell an 18-year-old.
They won't give you, I remember her specifically saying, they won't give you the real tour if you tell them what you're doing. You have to tell them that you're interested in coming there so you can get the full effect and they can give you the whole rundown.
Waste these people's time.
Pretty much.
Waste their time.
It's like go to another level of higher education, if you will,
The
secondary
highest.
school.
Because this is a secondary culinary school. This isn't
Yeah,
even like
yeah.
learning how to
It's not
boil an
home ec.
egg.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
home ec at your high school. It is legit like.
And we walk in, and so Caleb is from West Baltimore. I am from Montana. The other gentleman is from New Hampshire. It is so we had to figure out where we're all from, because we couldn't have been like, hey, he's from Baltimore, I'm from Montana, he's from New Hampshire. Isn't this a crazy friend group that loves to cook? Or some weird thing like that.
We're all 18 walking in.
We're all 18.
Yeah.
Wearing probably shirts from where we're from, because we're
I don't even know what we had on that day.
So we ended up saying we're all from New Hampshire, because like Montana didn't really work. West Baltimore definitely didn't work. And I love that we were all like,
for the optics. If people didn't know, the other guy from New Hampshire was white. So
yeah,
if you couldn't figure that out,
we would have said if the guy from New Hampshire was black. But like, it was funny too that we were like, well, we have to be kind of true, so we got to say we're from one of the places we're from. Which, looking back on it, is hilarious. We could have just been like, we're from Chicago. It doesn't matter.
We could have all been from Brooklyn for all she knew. Like, exactly.
And this person who, like, it wasn't the dean of the school, but this was a person who had a title that was not like student liaison.
Yeah.
Like, it was like director of admissions.
She might have been like an actual recruiter for the school. Like, it wasn't like some person who's sitting at the front desk like, hey, I'll walk you around the building real quick.
I mean, we got the real tour.
Like, she gave us the full deal.
Was this a 2-hour tour? How long were we there? We took the train.
Oh man, that's a great question. I don't know how long the tour was, but it was long enough. It was long enough for us to get the full rundown. Like, it was pretty much, we were being recruited to come to the school. Like, she gave us all the details, all the info, gave us pamphlets. I mean, told us The Apprentice was filmed there with Herschel Walker.
The Celebrity Apprentice.
Yeah, The Celebrity Apprentice. Yeah, you're right. With Herschel Walker. I don't know why she
straight at you when she said Herschel. She went, Herschel Walker's here. And Caleb went, oh, Herschel Walker? And she didn't even know that you were just being a dick. And I was trying, the other guy and I were trying so hard not to laugh, because we were just like, this is like, we were there long enough to feel bad about being there.
Oh yeah. At the end, I felt terrible, because at the end, that's when we started filling out forms, like contact information.
We're in an office, and she's like, there's these clips. She had them set up. We walked in, there were 3 clipboards already. It
was like, fill out your information. If you're interested, here's tuition, here's, all this other stuff. Yeah, it was like, hey, this can be expensive, and she was actually like asking us questions about our background, if we would fit in well in this school, had we, went ahead and applied and got in. It was like, so what got you interested in cooking? And what kind of, it was like serious questions, which this project made no sense to the rest of the class, by the way.
None. We were the only people who were like, so we gotta lie?
Yeah, no doubt. So,
I mean, and then we wrote a paper about the tour, and then I think everyone got an A, because the whole goal of the paper was to finesse a fake tour and waste this person's time.
All right, so I guess the premise of the class, if we backtrack a little bit, was I think I might have mentioned it, was to understand the different cultures and discover the city of New York through its food. So every section of the class was like, in Chinatown, they have this food, and this is their culture, and this is like that. And then Jewish people do this, and that's their culture. And, African American lives like every culture, which, like we said in the first episode, New York is just filled with different cultures and things like that. So it was dope to understand different cultures through their food, because it's something we can all relate to. We all got to eat. So why not? So the premise of the class was great. This project made absolutely no sense to the whole class, because it was like, go to culinary school and learn what about the culture of New York? That people just go to culinary school?
Yeah.
Like, it was crazy that we had to lie to these people just for a tour.
For a 4-page paper that 3 people write.
Oh,
1.3 pages each. And
the whole time it was us lying to the professor that we lied to it was like, why are we going this circular lie here? Hey lady, we had a great time lying to these people. That was the best part of the tour, was coming up with the lie, like just telling her we were from, Manchester or wherever we were from.
That's what it was.
And we were just trying to figure out, how to lie to this lady. I mean, it was a higher education 101. Yeah, how can we lie to these people who are literally doing their jobs and trying to get us to come to the school?
And I remember when we got out of the culinary school and we ran to the train. We
Well,
ran to the train.
here's why we ran to the train. Because we both, me and you, put down the other guy's phone number on the information
Yeah.
form. So at the end, you fill out your
Because we
contact
didn't know the area
information.
code. We didn't know
Yeah.
the area code for Manchester, so we were like, I
So I
looked over and I
looked
was
in
like,
my
okay.
phone. I think we looked in our phone, and I remember looking at my phone like, oh, there's the number, and like just writing down his number. So then after that, when they followed up phone calls with like, hey, are you still interested in coming? They only called him, which by
Yes.
far made the trip well worth it at that
Wash
point.
my
It
hands
was
of that whole situation.
it was like, here's a fake email address that maybe somebody has, but I know I don't have it.
Yeah.
Here's my name. Here's the address in Manchester where I might have lived, 123 Hickory Lane. I don't know, like whatever was
One,
down
two,
that
three,
sheet of
go
paper.
Hoosiers.
Yeah, like who knows? Go Irish. Like who
Yeah.
do
Oh God, that's a whole other thing.
like who do we know like that would ever
One
have a
person.
project like this?
Yeah, and that was such a night. So like that class would be canceled without notice at 7
Mm-hmm.
a.m. We just all walk up and there'd be an angry group of 20, 18-year-olds who were like, my next class is until 10. I'm gonna go back to sleep.
Every time.
Um,
Every time.
every
I always
time.
miss calculus because I would go back to sleep and
Oh, of
then
course.
uh
But
and
it's
then so wasn't it that but the cool part was it was a positive, it was a negative. So obviously Discover New York through food was cool. She would bring in different dishes
that was
that
tight.
that different that different cultures would have, which was awesome.
That was tight.
However, I did not want to eat spaghetti at 7 o'clock in the morning.
Right? It'd be
Like,
yeah. She's like, I brought cold spaghetti.
right. It was like, here's a little
There's
dip. We
some
got a little,
sauce.
yeah. I was like, I want an egg roll, but like at 3 in the afternoon. Like,
There was
let's,
there was so little spaghetti she'd like put it on a cracker. I'm like, this is not how spaghetti is
yeah,
supposed to be eaten.
yeah. She had to save it for her other 3 sections and the rest of the day. It was like, we were
Yeah.
first to get it, and it was like, the lounge isn't open yet because it's 7 a.m. So we can't heat this up yet. But
Yeah.
here, just try a little bit. It's fine. I'm
Here's
like,
a handful of cold spaghetti.
oh my gosh.
And I learned some cool things about like, yeah, there used to be lobsters that were like 5 feet long off the coast of New York before
I
everyone
don't
caught
remember
all
that,
of
but
them,
yeah.
which is like cool. But like, things like that. But it was a nice microcosm of like, before I kind of knew what the bad parts of college were, I feel like we were kind of internalizing it from this project and kind of our classes as a whole at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Like for me, I never really cared for college in a sense. To be
Same.
completely fair, I didn't care for school as a whole. Like I'm of average, above average intelligence as according to standardized testing, but like
Which
classroom
we all
work.
know totally is right and has no biases to
Oh
it.
yeah. So but like for me, I was like I could always take a test. It was just the
No problem.
coursework. The coursework was just like, why are we here? What am I doing
Yes.
here? College, going into college, I was like, sure, I got to do it for a job. Looking back, I would have been an apprentice, like being an electrician. I'd much rather probably do something like that had
Oh my
I had
God. If I
a
could fix
foreknowledge.
refrigerators,
Yeah,
if I could have fixed refrigerators for a
yeah.
living,
For how much they make now, like looking back, I definitely would have been like, how about this apprenticeship like thing or
yeah,
something? Like college in
give
a
me a trade
sense.
school.
Yeah, college in a sense was like you got to go get a degree. Like for everybody after high school, was like you got to get your degree. That's the only way you'll
I
get a job now. And so that's how it was for me. So I went in reluctantly, like
yeah,
got to get a degree. Now I will say, college. If it wasn't for college, I would have never known about the job I have now. So
for sure.
I will give it credit there. Like obviously, it opened my eyes. It opened my network to so many more people. I.e., Missoula's greatest right here. But like,
There you go.
but at the same time, I just like the idea of it going into it. I was dragging my feet about it. And then that first semester, I was like, is this what we're paying 40 grand a year for?
That was my thing. My thing when I got that first. So I went to University of Montana, where if you're a resident of Montana, I think the University of Montana costs $19 a semester.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's no money. If you're a resident of Montana, you go to UM. Like it's very cheap,
Yeah.
very affordable. It's a good school for how much it costs. It's great.
Yeah.
I got that first. What the fuck were my loans with? Whatever company my loans were with, I saw that statement. It was probably right after we did a fake tour of a culinary school, and I had an intro to public speaking class where the only work we did all semester was a 3-minute speech and a 6-minute speech about anything we wanted. And I was like, I'm not this is a joke. Like
Yeah, that's
40K
crazy.
for this?
Yeah.
Like
Yep.
it's just
Yep.
crazy. And I
Yeah.
just didn't like. I had no. At that point, I remember seeing that stub and just being like, "This isn't worth it.
Yeah. It wasn't. I mean,
There's no way this is worth it."
I had a scholarship or like whatever they give you, some kind of. I had some kind of scholarship, and I had heard from like a few sophomore and juniors that that scholarship could potentially go away because that's a scholarship St. John's gives you to get you in the door. And
Yeah.
like your sophomore, junior year, they take it away from you so they can offer it to other kids that are coming in. I didn't stick around to see if that was true or not.
You're like,
But
bye.
I still, so I mean, the scholarship wasn't a full ride. It was like, it was
It
a
was,
decent portion, but then I
yeah,
also had student loan portion that was also another decent portion. I was just
very
like,
decent portion.
that was probably more than the scholarship. And I was like, all right, this is, everybody has student loans. Like that's what they tell you. Everybody has student loans. And then you realize like,
No,
everybody's
they
got
don't.
them, but not like this. Like not
Not.
after.
And also, the other thing that factors into it is if you go to a school that's in the Big East, as St. John's is,
True.
you probably want to stay east, right? I also had the thought of if I go back home to Montana, where most people, if you went to a big school, it's not University of Montana. On the West Coast, you have a degree from a Pac-12 school. You know what I mean? Like it's like you go to UW, you go to Oregon, you go to whatever. You come back to Montana with a degree from St. John's, they're like, why the fuck did you go to St. John's? Like,
I don't think.
Were you too smart for the Pac-12 or too dumb for the Pac-12? Like that's where it was a big regional thing for me too.
Yeah, I don't think I didn't see if you went to St. John's, I never pictured you going back to Montana had you stayed in New York.
Yeah.
So like I get it.
Even the
like,
West Coast.
Yeah, I get it. So if you're like, oh, okay, you went to St. John's, like cool. But like if you do go back to Montana, like what is a St. John's? Like
what did you do this for?
Yeah.
Like
so yeah, I get it. I definitely get it. Like it's crazy to think like I was legit about to pay 40 grand a year or whatever, 30 grand a year with the scholarship had they kept it or whatever. But like still to be like, here's a Pell Grant for 4 grand maybe.
Yeah.
And then here is
figure out where you live.
Right. Oh my gosh. And then if they kicked us off campus, like there's not enough space for you to matriculate through college there. You'd have to move off campus. And so, like, I can only imagine how much Queens costs.
I'm assuming it must have been cheaper. But like I just don't thinking about having to live off campus at St. John's. And then
where would you live?
I don't know. Because there's also no fraternities.
Yeah.
On campus.
That was on purpose though.
Oh, of course. But so like that makes it hard. So like you're like, all right, so I'm gonna join a fraternity? Like I'm not
Yeah, they had the sketchy off campus fraternities though.
The worst fraternities.
Like they were chapters and there were chapters, but they weren't affiliated with the university.
And like they
so like you could join them. You could join them, but you couldn't really do anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Like you would join it and you'd be like, hey, I'm in this frat. And everyone was like, okay, you can't talk about it on campus. You can't so I don't understand why you're really caring about it.
Yeah.
No, man, it definitely did because I was jaded too. I kind of had this thing where like the thing about standardized tests is like it doesn't matter. Like the SATs or whatever, this will get me into college, that's fine. How did your education experience change once you got out of St. John's? Like, do you think, because for me, when I went back to Montana, I went back to such a comfort zone. Like I literally went from living with, dudes I'd never met. I only was really good friends with one, you, to living with my best friend from childhood. So I was like, this shit's great. Like,
so it was pretty much I won't say the same, but it was very similar. So when I transferred, I went back home. I went to Maryland, which was my dream school growing up. I mean, I was a big Terp fan. Yeah, I was a big Terp fan, like growing up. And so I didn't get in. Let's put that out there. I did not get in when I first applied, which was kind of strange to me because like I didn't even get like waitlisted. I had like a 3.3 coming out of high school or something, pretty much average, above average, even for my magnets. They were like,
and they just said no.
They were like, yeah, you're at, and then I found out like afterwards that they do accept a lot of people to transfer in. I wasn't. A lot of people said the reason I probably didn't get in was because I was in state. I was average and I was in state. They would much rather get somebody who had the same grade, same profile,
out of state.
out of state person. For a public school,
that's why I got into St. John's.
Yeah, for a public school, they much rather get some kid from Jersey who was coming down, charge them, 3 times as much as they would charge me, and still get the same average kid. Which
Yeah.
is fine for me. I didn't really like. I was kind of hurt. I was like, it sucks. But then I was like, I'll just go to St. John's, see how that goes.
Yeah.
And then,
What's the worst that could happen?
the funny part is like even like maybe like 3 or 4 weeks into being at St. John's, I had started working on my transfer application to go back to Maryland.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
it wasn't that it wasn't that I was mad at St. John's. It was just that I always wanted to go to Maryland. Like, let's see how this goes. So I submitted it, not even thinking about it, and even like submitted like my mid-year transcripts or whatever. I had no real intention of transferring out like of St. John's after like I submitted the application. I was like, if they didn't accept me the first time, they probably won't accept me this time. Probably depends on my grades. So I had every intention of going back to St. John's after winter break until like a day or two before winter break, and I got the acceptance letter that was like my mom had it left sitting somewhere. She was like, "Oh yeah, this thing came," and I opened up and I'm like, I got accepted to Maryland. Like they let me transfer in. Yeah, I was like, this sucks, but we're out. And so that was my whole transition. But for me, even going to Maryland, it was like, hey, cool, you're going to Maryland. Like, I didn't really know too many people. There was a few people from my high school that went there. One of my really good friends from high school, she was there. Ironically enough, I roomed with a kid that I went to high school with, but I did not know.
Oh, damn. That's kind of cool, though.
It was cool, but like there was a reason we probably didn't know each other because like
feel that. Yeah.
I got moved into an honors dorm and I wasn't an honors kid at all. Like
oh,
these
no.
kids were like when I say honors dorm, I mean like just the nerdiest of the nerdiest kids ever. Like here's how bad they were. I was the best basketball player.
Oh no, I've seen you play basketball, bro.
Yeah, no, that's the problem. Like I was picked first, and they would never. I was picked first. I was the best player amongst them, and I was like, I need to go find other friends because this is ridiculous. So like, and like 3 weeks in, they were like, "Oh, we play basketball." I was like, "Can we go inside and play?" And they were like, "No, that's where the really good guys play." Like there were two basketball courts,
sure.
and I was like, "Yeah, this isn't for me." So that's where the spectrum was for me when I moved in. When I transferred back to Maryland, it was like these kids are super smart. They're all in honors classes. I transferred in like I'm an average kid, just trying to,
get your degree, move on,
be out of there. So for me, it was a little weird at first. Wasn't as diverse as St. John's, so that kind of threw me for a loop a little bit. It was so much bigger than St. John's. You had to like it was huge. The campus was huge. There was a South Campus, North
St.
Campus.
John's was small.
Yeah, it was. So I wasn't. For me, that was like my second college experience, and I just had already gotten used to the small community of St. John's that I wasn't prepared for the vastness that was Maryland. So it took me a while to get adjusted, but I got adjusted. It wasn't bad. Oh yeah, now we're back.
All right, now we're back.
Duck's back in the jungle. He had to switch it up so much. He's in the jungle now.
Had to switch it up so much. What was the last point before the technical difficulties that we had to edit this?
Great question. That's a great question. Oh, you were talking. You're about to go into your differences. In Montana when you went back.
Coming back from Montana, it was crazy because, like St. John's on the weekends, everyone's gone. Like that's the thing about that was the crazy thing that I was not prepared for because every college, I mean anything that I'd ever experienced, be it through media, be it through anything, was people hang out on the weekends. And campus is crazy, whatever.
Yeah,
dude, St. John's on a Friday, like
it wasn't a college town. Yeah, it wasn't a college town
at all. And I really expected and I think part of the reasons I think I didn't have a good time at St. John's was because I wanted that like college town experience, which is funny because I left a college town, so I went back to a pure college town, and it was like, oh, okay, like people are binge drinking constantly. There's parties. Like it felt like a college. Like St. John's almost felt like it was like, I don't want to say a high school, but it felt kind of like a boarding school because so few people would be there on the weekends that I didn't have a college experience. It felt like that first semester. So even when I got back to Missoula, like you said, when you were it's a bigger campus. Like it felt like it was more bustling. Like it was just this weird vibe. And I weirdly felt more, and I don't know why these reasons, I felt like the classes I was taking, even that second semester, freshman year, I was like, there's more accountability. I'm not lying to people in a position of authority. like, and I feel like I was on the real, like the cheap end of how much universities cost and everything.
Mm.
But even if it would have been twice what I was paying, it still would have felt like I was getting the full, you know, experience of everything. And like I guess I wasn't as prepared of that coming out of St. John or going into St. John's as I was. But I mean, I think about how I transferred and I was like, yeah, like I wouldn't be, everything happens for a reason. I wouldn't be covering the Clippers. I wouldn't be doing all this other stuff. So like
Yeah.
it was a benefit to go to St. John's, but it definitely did at the time. What's the saying, like, I wish that I knew what I knew, when I was younger, like about the
Yeah.
college system. Like
Yeah.
I had so many different ideas of what education was like as a whole
Yeah.
when I first went to St. John's.
Yeah, for me, I think college turned into more of a networking thing than an education thing.
Yeah.
Like it was more so, hey, who do you know? And looking back now, I can just like I lean on or I can lean on so many people that I've gotten to know in college. And it's just like I work with this person, whether it be some on-campus job or, we work together on a project or, I know this, professor, staff member, whoever it is now, like looking back that now I can kind of lean on an advisory role and help or whatever it is, keeping up through Facebook, Instagram, however you want to look at it. And I think that has helped me more than, grade point average or what I learned in physical classrooms. It's like, so I get the benefit there. I don't want people to be like, oh, college is a waste of time, waste of money. In a sense,
If you don't use it right.
Yeah, if you don't use it right. And, I learned that I had a cousin that actually went to Maryland. She was a couple years older than me, but she used the entire campus. Like it wasn't just like I'm going to class and I'm going home. She was like, I'm gonna participate in this. I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna get this network. And I was like, oh, I kind of see how you do it and how it can work for you in the long run. Because now, I look back now, I can see all the connections I have that I've made in college, from college, and then the people I've met through other college friends or classmates or whatever. So it's definitely sometimes bad, sometimes good. It is what you make of it. And had I done it differently, I probably would have skipped the semester at St. John's and probably would have
saved myself that
I probably would have did
alone.
Yeah, I probably would have did community college and then tried to transfer into Maryland or something like it would have, like you said, had I known what I know now, we would have been singing a different tune. This podcast probably would have never gotten started. So you never know.
Yeah. And part of me too is like I went to college for the fun experience, and St. John's was not like I wasn't a city kid.
Yeah.
Like I'm from Missoula, Montana. Like it's not I'm not trying to like, I'll go see one show, but I'm not like, man, stay out till 6 a.m. in New York City where I've never been.
Yeah.
Like I wanted that kind of, for lack of a better term, that good old boy vibe in Montana. Cause it was like, I was staying with my best friend. His dad helped start the rec program at the school. And like, he was an outdoor guy. So it was this thing where it was like, you can kind of do whatever, which, looking back now, like we really should not have been allowed to do whatever. Like we did. Like drunk driving in the snow is bad. Like that's not a good thing you should do. But like that was the college experience I wanted. So, and now I think about college now, and I mean, Corona, everything aside, people paying $50,000 a semester just watching fucking videos and talk about physics.
I would never.
No, if I had a child right now, I'd be like, you're not going to college.
No,
right
it's not
now,
even
no.
why.
Like, go to community college.
Yeah, like you literally like start something, learn how to code through YouTube or learn how I'm not about to send you to Harvard for $50,000 a year so you can Zoom from this Ivy League degree. Because what's going to happen is somebody's going to graduate in the next 2 years or whatever, and jobs are going to be like, oh, you graduate in 2021? Oh, that was like, you graduated from Harvard in 2021? So that means you spent that means you spent like a year or two. You didn't really do college at Harvard.
You had the video stream.
They're not gonna. Your degree's not gonna mean as much from Harvard. Now it's always gonna be a Harvard degree. Nobody can take that away from you.
For sure.
But when you're fresh out of college and they see 2021, 2022, they're gonna be like, that Harvard degree means a little bit less than it did in 2019 or post-Corona. Like you got to get 5 years probably down the line before people start like respecting these college degrees again.
Yeah.
Especially right out of the gate. I won't say, right now, but like right out of the gate, it's going to be like 2021. You just graduated. you got lucky. We're looking for something a little more rigorous here.
Yeah,
You know.
could you break down what you're well the other thing is like kind of proving what you did in college is so much harder too.
Yeah.
Because it's like, all right, send us your papers, I guess, because we don't know. Like, and there's also teacher fatigue. My
Yeah.
sister has her and her husband have three boys, and they're all young. They're in like grade school,
Oof.
and they have the. I know, I don't even want to think about that. Shout out to the Augs in Missoula. But like they have teachers who are like, I'm fucking swamped. Like,
Yeah.
because
Oh.
teachers have to do so much more shit now, and then plus COVID, it's like they're already buying their own supplies and everything like that. It's like
Yeah.
no education as a whole. I mean, the higher education is like I like your point of like you got to use it how you're supposed to use it.
Yeah.
Like college taught me for the most part. I have a history degree, which is one of the most useless degrees in the world right now, since everyone just teaches themselves their own version of history, which is insane. Deshaun Jackson. But like, what? I'm just saying, if you educate yourself and you come to
I'm
the
not going
conclusion,
there. I'm not touching it. I'm not touching
that's
it.
all right. All I'm gonna
I'm
say
not
is
touching it. I'm just letting you know I'm not touching it.
that's fair. If you educate yourself and the conclusion you've come to educating yourself is that Jews control all the money in the world, find some different sources because look, that's just not how that shit works. But like now a degree in history, everyone's like, well, where'd you get that? Like University of Montana. Like, well, I read a thing on Stephen Blankenblake's blog, and I'm like, okay, this is a useless degree.
Yeah.
No one cares about real history anymore. What am I going to be, a goddamn historian? No. But like college taught me, like what? like college, college taught me like organization. Like you got to be at this place at this time if you want to get the grade. You don't even necessarily have to do all the work, but if you show up, you'll get the grade.
Chemistry 101 at St. John's. I don't know if that was the actual number, but that was my story of my chemistry class. I mean, half the class either didn't show up and the other, fourth of the class or another fourth of the class was asleep and the other fourth was like me. And we just all looked at each other like, what is this guy talking about? Heavy Russian accent. And it was just show up and you kind of just smile at the guy and he gives you a B plus A. I know I pretty much got like a B plus or an A, and I did not grade wise have a B plus or an A because I had no clue what was going on. It was like, it wasn't chemistry. It might've been something harder. Like it was a harder chemistry that I was used to in high school. So I was like, I'm sticking this one out. I already dropped the econ one. I got to like stick this one out because it wasn't that hard. It just was confusing to what he was saying because his accent was so strong. And he was like, one day in class, he was like, you pay attention, you raise your hand. I probably asked like 3 questions the whole semester.
3,000%.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Else.
And I walked out of there with like a B plus A. So, it was, I was happy with that. And it does go to your point. Like a lot of people, I know people hate it because we are like kings of the participation trophy generation, but like that's what it was. It was like, hey, you showed your face, you participated, you stayed awake, and I remember you. And to be fair, and it's
that's an important thing.
Yeah, but the interesting part is, and I don't know, I can't speak for him or whatever, but I know it's a fact. I stick out. And St. John's might have been different because it was so diverse. But at Maryland, every teacher knew my name by like the second day, the second class, because I was like one of 3 black people that was in the classroom. So it's like, oh yeah, you're okay, I remember you now. It's like either you're him or you're the other black kid.
I was gonna say if they get this wrong,
it was like, that was the thing. Like I always gave people a pass. I was like, I don't care. Like I get it now. At this point, I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I'm not about to, bring you at the stake for it. It is what it is. However, I knew that when I didn't come to class, the teacher would ask me the very next class,
immediately,
hey, we missed you the other day. I was like, you missed me? I asked like 2 questions the whole semester and you don't see me and it took me a semester at Maryland to realize that. Like, I didn't know that at first until like my second semester at Maryland. I was like, I actually stick. Like in retrospect, I knew I was like one of the 2 or 3 black kids, but I didn't know how it affected the teacher. Like I didn't know the teacher would look out into a classroom of predominantly, a lot of white kids, and then maybe one Hispanic, one black person, somebody of Middle Eastern descent, something like that. And you're just like, oh, I'm the only black kid in here. Shoot, I didn't realize it. Now,
I really have to be.
Yeah, now I have to I have to come to class. I have to do this stuff, and it's crazy to think that. Like now looking back, I was like, man, there were so many times where I've, not saying I could have capitalized on it, but also like dropped the ball too, because it was like I stuck out, so it also hurt me. Like I stuck out and it
Yeah.
helped me in one sense, and I stick out and it could hurt me in another sense. So but yeah, participation was like the name of the game in college. You got it if you just showed up. You got, if you just showed up to class, hey, you missed 3 classes. Freshman year, that was like the thing. It was like, yeah, it was not like 3 classes, but like they would know if you missed the class. And I'm like, okay, why are we the sign-in sheet? Pass it around. Like, here we go with this again.
Yeah, and then it's the flip side where you're like, okay, so I'll be here, but because of all these other people, we have to sign a sign-in sheet. Like at this point, like it's a junior. Like I took some like junior, senior level classes where there'd be a sign-in sheet for like a lab, and I'm like, we should be ready. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, what the hell are we doing here?
Yeah.
I took a history of the Bible class at the University of Montana, which was
How did
truly
that go?
just. It was truly just like an outline of like how the history of the Bible worked. It wasn't a religious studies class, if that makes sense. It was just like the history of what happened in the Bible.
Gotcha.
And like geographically where stuff would happen. So
that's pretty dope. Yeah.
It was an interesting class. I was full disclosure, I was raised very Catholic until my parents divorced. And then I had the classic single mom situation where one year you're very religious, one year the Pope is evil, and then the next year you're very religious. That's just how those things go.
That's the thing. I didn't know that.
Yes. So Catholics stay going in and out of Catholicism.
I didn't know that.
But the funniest part I remember is at the bottom of the guy's syllabus, in all capital letters, was, "This is a historical class about the Bible and geographic locations. This is not a class for you to tell me what you think about religion and all this stuff."
That's pretty. I mean, I would want that.
He had to.
Yeah, I would want that.
I was like,
yeah.
Thank you for putting this down. But that class, I took the midterm, and it was like I bombed the midterm. I don't know what the hell happened. I got like a 58 on this shit. And I was like, I'm a senior. Like, this is going to prevent me from graduating. Like, I talked to the dude. I was like, hey, man, like, what can I do to improve this? Like, this does not reflect, A, how smart I am. I don't think. And B, like, I just, I got B's and A's in those other classes. And he was like, oh, you're a senior? And I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, okay. And he just changed the shit. And I was like,
what?
Man, this is cool, but like, what the fuck is this? Like,
he's like, I'm not gonna hold you, man. I'm just gonna let you go ahead.
Like, hey, we'll bump it up. He's like, we'll do a 72. Next one, you get better than the 80. We're good.
We ain't gonna hold you. You're not exempt from the final, but just come in and
exactly. And it was like, okay, this is how things work, and that is kind of a glimpse into how I guess adult life works now too. Like,
a little bit, I would say a little bit. I think it depends on your industry, or depends on your job, and it depends on, how far you want to go up the ladder in your job. Like, there are people who show up to work every day and, do the bare minimum, participate, and get their annual 1%, 2%, 3% raise, and are fine with that, and they're happy, and they go on for the rest of their life being an employee, and they love it.
Yeah. And shout out good base salaries to those people.
Yeah. And so like they're fine with that. Especially a lot of, a few government employees are like that, where it's just like, it's hard to fire, or a state employee. I won't say government, like state employee.
Tenure.
Like, yeah. It's so hard to fire some of these people that it's like, I'm doing the bare minimum. You can't really fire me as long as I'm hitting my, benchmarks or whatever, and we're fine. Like, and so for other industries, obviously like the private sector, you either have to keep going and like keep pushing and making a deal, like in making a big deal out of what you're doing. But there are people who are just like, this is good enough. I'm cool. I'm fine here. Yeah, I'm cool. And that level of complacency is how we've gotten to the participation trophy generation.
That complacency you talk about is great, because do you remember when you first learned like what tenure meant for teachers?
A little bit, because I still don't understand complete tenure. Like, I get it, like you can't be fired or something.
Which in my head, I'm like, that is the dumbest thing in the world. I don't care. So you meet tenure once, and then you're like, sick. I'm going to because I think when I was in school, I had teachers who were on tenure who were horrible teachers in high school. And you're just like, nothing can happen to this employee. And funny thing, when we were at St. John's, I had a business class where it was the year before they gave a bunch of teachers tenure. And then they found out that they fudged a bunch of these like grant credits and stuff like that. So it had to be this whole thing of this investigation into tenure. So I'm like, if these guys are lying about things they get on tenure and then they can't be fired, what the hell is this? Like, this is a bad system. Like, tenure shouldn't exist.
So I was watching, I want to say,
it's a borderline participation trophy.
Yeah, I want to say it was the Patriot Act on Netflix. I want to say that was the show, but I'm not 100% sure.
Oh, I thought you meant Patriots Day, that Mark Wahlberg movie. I was like,
No,
oh,
no,
we're
no,
watching the Mark
no,
Wahlberg
no.
Boston Bombers.
The I forget the guy's name. He does this like weekly show on
Oh, Hassan
Netflix.
Minaj.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
his
yeah.
name. And it's a great show. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's fairly liberal, which he tries to play moderate every now and again, but it's clearly
Yeah, it's
liberal.
for sure.
Yeah. But he does I think it's one about college or something like that. Especially, and it talks about how schools have gone away from giving people tenure and going more towards adjunct professors because it's costing them more to have like tenure professors. Then you could just
Forever.
then you can just get an adjunct professor who, like, one adjunct professor was like, I'm an adjunct professor at this college, and this college because I'm not making enough. And it's like, you're a professor, you're not making enough to pay your bills at one teaching job, so you got to get three
Yeah.
of them. Like, the
It's
system is
like there's
screwed either
no
way. Like, it's like you
yeah,
either
there's no
get
middle ground.
yeah, you either get a tenured guy who will get lazy and chill out once he hits tenure, or you'll get the adjunct professor who's stressed out and is pretty much a long-term sub out here
Has
just
to pay
trying to
off
get
their
by.
loans.
Yeah. And I'm like, this is nuts. Like,
It's
it's
so
it's
broken.
crazy.
And it's so broken now too, because like I mean, like the pandemic and everything. I think
Oh, good luck.
his
Good luck. Good luck. I'm just waiting for Master P to start selling ICDC commercials for like 50 grand a
is
year. Like,
ICDC still around?
I don't know.
They closed the one by me. Shame.
Oh, I didn't even know they had physical buildings. I thought it was all online.
So no bullshit. My second apartment in LA was across the street from a strip mall that was a McDonald's, a Food for Less, and an ICDC college.
Nice. I mean, you can't pass up a better strip than that. Like,
Look, I'm gonna be honest. If you live in Los Angeles, if you listen to this and you don't go to Food for Less for your like marinated meats, because Food for Less is
marinated meats?
yeah. So Food for Less is, for the most part, it's like a Mexican grocery store. So there's a bunch of bomb ass
Okay,
marinated
gotcha.
meats like carne asada and stuff like that. The
Okay.
butcher at Food for Less is very much on point. It's great. It's also not a bulk store. It's like a mid-bulk store. So instead of getting like 2 Hot Pockets, you got to buy a box of like 13, and you're like, what is this? Like, what am I doing? Why? It's not 2, it's not 24. It's like a week and a half supply or some weird thing like that.
It's Sam's Club, but smaller.
But you don't need a cart. And sometimes people get shot in the parking lot.
You don't need a car.
But man, Master P, is he doing rap snacks? Did he do?
I
Rap
don't
snacks?
know. That's a good question.
It seems like a Master P vehicle.
It's all. I mean, he owns half the world's wealth right now.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how wealthy Master P was till like early 2000s, and we saw an elevator in his house on Cribs, and I was like, Master P's got this much money?
Oh, he's got to figure it out.
Master P, I mean, this is turned into a Master P fest, but he somehow realized every kid's dream. Like, how do you go from being an NBA player to a rapper to owning like everything pretty much, and then feeding your last neighborhood and getting kids in college now? You're like, this guy perfected life from New Orleans or wherever
hella
from.
people did.
Yeah,
he had that blueprint.
The fact that he like crossed off the whole like NBA dream early on is nuts. That
don't
people
just do this.
Yeah, that people just don't even realize. Like, hey, he realized his dreams. He played in the league, and then he had a platinum selling rap career.
He was like, okay, one of these things is better.
Yeah, and then his son, had a pretty good teenage rap career. Like,
and then got into USC because he was friends with the best recruit at the time as well.
I thought he just
basketball scholarship.
He got a basketball scholarship?
Pretty sure, yeah. Because I think he was friends with OJ Mayo, and that's why he got to go to USC.
Huh. I knew he went to USC, but I didn't know he got a basketball scholarship.
That's how scholarships work. That's another quid pro quo thing of like, you
want
OJ Mayo, you got to take his best friend.
However, in my I guess I won't say research, but in my knowing of how,
let's call it research,
how scholarships work, it was probably like a grad transfer scholarship. They were just like, oh, this guy's not around anymore. We got one more left. Here you go. Like,
so that's the thing. I heard
which is hard for basketball. It's easier for football, but it's a little bit harder for basketball. Basketball, it rarely happens, but it does.
Because I read a thing too, like, don't like 4-year full ride scholarships do not exist, right? It's like a 1-year re-up pretty much.
Yeah. So
like, they're not just going to be like, here's 4 free years of college at once.
So what it is each year you have to re-sign your scholarship contract agreement. They don't like saying contract, but that's what it is. However, there's only a few situations where a college would rescind your offer, your scholarship that year. like unless you did something crazy and they cut you from the team, like you
Yeah.
had to like, you know, kill
Swear to
somebody
God,
or like,
you take a free T-shirt from a sports store for being on the team, you're out of here.
oh no, you're not cut from the team. You're suspended for that year, and
Yeah.
you just don't, you know, it's you'll let the NCAA handle your suspension there. But like there's never really a time where a coach will just never like because it looks bad on your program if you give a kid a scholarship
And then just
and
can't
then
keep
like,
it.
hey, 2 years later you go, hey, you know, you're not playing well, so we're gonna take your scholarship. We're not gonna re-offer your
Yeah.
scholarship. Like that. The only time that's happened is when, and I won't say happened, but it's when a new coach has come in and they sit down and talk to like a senior who hasn't had any playing time his whole time there, and they
Yeah.
don't think he'll
Okay.
pan out, and they'll be like, hey man, look, you're more than welcome to stay on the team. You're going to graduate, blah blah blah. We'll find a way to get you your last, you know, few dollars to graduate, or you've already graduated in 3.5, however they look at it.
Hmm.
And they'll be like, you know, maybe you want to find a scholarship somewhere else and finish out, like, because you're not going to
Yeah.
play here. Pretty much telling you you're not going to play here and move on,
Please leave.
or try to move on, or like, you know, pretty much saying, hey, you're free to look for other.
Figure your shit out, big guy.
Yeah, but they'll never take your scholarship off the table. They'll never tell a
Got it.
kid, hey, you know, you're not welcome here. They're just going to tell you, hey, you're not going to get any playing time here. Good luck. Like, go find
Yeah.
somewhere else. But you're
Which you
obviously you can
haven't been.
stay. Yeah, you can stay, or you know, have at it. Like we won't
Okay.
we won't feel bad if you talk to another coach and find a scholarship elsewhere.
For
Pretty
sure.
much saying that. So I
Got it.
so no, but no coach, from what I understand, has never said this kid sucks. I can't
That'd be
offer him
brutal.
his junior year going into a senior year scholarship again. Yeah.
Yeah. That'd be
But yeah,
terrible.
it is a bunch of like every year you got to re-sign it.
Yeah, the scholarship situation is crazy, especially at certain schools that let you do like you're. I think the coach is so dependent too on how good of a time you have. Because I had a friend who was an elite swimmer in high school. She was like on the junior Olympic, like wild good swimmer from Wyoming, but she went to school for swimming, and she had a coach who was like draconian. Like you couldn't do anything. Like you can't like if there's a red cup anywhere in the picture, in the background, whatever, you're suspended. Like that kind of thing. And she was
Wow.
like,
So
"This
like
is
St.
horrible."
John's.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like she was like, "This is horrible." Like I came here to swim and like have some kind of fun. Like she wasn't a bad kid, obviously, but she's like, "This is such a like a tight run ship that doesn't make any sense.
Wow.
Like you're getting free anyway." That's probably another episode that we can do.
Maybe.
Maybe not.
We'll
Yeah.
see. I've said enough.
Oh man, I think we're just about wrapping up here. Should we talk about the Snoop Dogg DMX versus situation?
Yeah, we can kind of end it with that, you know.
I just think, based on pure longevity, I think Snoop Dogg has to completely. I think Snoop Dogg gets this one handedly.
Again, I agree. However, per the last verses that I watched, Jadakiss and Fabulous left a lot of tracks out there, and Jadakiss, you know, did a lot of damage early on because I think the
That's the key,
problem
I
is
think.
you have two different artists in a sense. Jadakiss was more gritty throughout his entire career, very much street New York. Fabulous had a few of those tracks,
Yeah,
and that were popular, but he tried to keep up toe to toe with
he's
the
still making
gritty
throw it in the
tracks.
bag, and he's
Yeah,
still like,
yeah,
yeah,
and he tried to keep up with those gritty tracks that Jadakiss had early on, and it didn't work. So instead of him just, you know, pulling out his hits early on and just hushing up Jadakiss to songs that we didn't really know, it was, I'll try and play my, you know, album tracks that, you know, were from
yeah,
20
the
years
deeper
ago.
cuts.
Yeah, and it was just like, it's a gritty song, but you know, we wanted to hear, you know, Little Mo singing in the background, and we wanted to hear, we wanted to hear, you know, we wanted to hear you cheat on your girlfriend.
Yeah,
Um,
and then kind of feel bad about it
yeah,
and
and
buy a
then just
car.
he pretty much rapped. My favorite song of his is when he raps about having a side chick, and the entire time he's like telling his side chick, "Hey, but it's gonna be okay. She might find out, but it'll be okay. Guess what? I'm gonna buy her a canary locket, and I'm gonna buy you one too. Hey, it's gonna be fine. Hey,
We're
look, she
good.
might find out that your lip gloss was on my throwback, but it'll be okay. Like it's the whole song
Can't
is like
imagine the
that,
throwback collars of
and then
Fabulous in the
and
mid
then the
thousands.
hook is just like, you're the only one I love. I'm like, what? How? This is not it.
He only loves one person, but it's also two people.
He's got a wife, so you know,
Yeah,
don't worry. I've already got a wife. you're going to be well taken care of.
Yeah.
And that was a hit song. And that's what shaped our side chick phenomenon that we have going on now. Is because we
Side chick
sang and rapped
phenomenon is
we sang and rapped about it as kids. And now it's like, why aren't we living this life? You know?
This is where the polyamory. This is where everyone gets mad at millennials for having polyamory, and it's
Ugh.
like that's
I'm a
just the
pass
same
on that.
thing.
I'm a pass
Side
on
chick
that.
and polyamory are truly the
It
same.
is, but I am definitely going to pass on that lifestyle. That's not for me. It's a
I'm
financial
not,
decision.
I'm not with the poly. I've been with the same woman for 8 years. I'm not. I'm not with
Congrats.
the polyamory.
That's what up. Congrats.
Oh come on, we're just.
I am. I'm single, but you know, it's fun. It's a financial decision, man. Like it's such a financial decision. Because I try to be old school.
Families, it's like wow.
Yeah. What? Are you kidding me? How is that possible? But back to the Snoop Dogg versus.
So my thing with because I think DMX's highs are as good as Snoop Dogg's highs.
Yeah.
The 3 highs that DMX has in terms of commercial stuff.
Yeah.
Are as high as Snoop Dogg's. But,
so the thing is, though, Snoop Dogg will get him in features.
Yes, and just
so the features played a big role in the last one with Jadakiss. You're like, I forgot he was on that song.
Yep.
And so you're just like, he did have a great feature there. So depending on the parameters and how they decide to go about it, I do think this will be one where we hear a lot of songs we either A, forgot about, or B, never knew existed, especially from Snoop Dogg.
Yeah. I don't need any unreleased Snoop. I've heard Snoop Dogg since.
Oh no, it's gonna be released Snoop, but it would have been on like those early '90s albums that we were too young to remember, and it's like, cool Snoop, like just play the Whisper verse feature and we'll be fine. Like
that's what's crazy too about kind of Snoop's legacy is that like if you're a 20-year-old in 2020,
you have no clue. You have no clue.
Snoop is a sellout. Because you've only seen him do like Martha Stewart stuff and like I'm just think about it. That's
true. I don't know a Snoop song in the last 5 years.
If you're like 2022, you're like, oh yeah, Snoop did. He was like he did all that pimp stuff for a while. And then,
and you don't even really know that at 22. You just
you don't know anything probably about Doggy Style unless you're really trying to go back into Snoop's catalog and stuff like the Chronic, which is basically a Snoop Dogg album.
Yeah.
But like the longevity, and it's a shame because DMX, if he would have been in better situations, could have had some more longevity.
Cocaine's a hell of a drug.
Yes, it is. But yeah, just Snoop and we talked about it like that Bush album Snoop has. There's like one good song on that album, but that album's bad. And he'll just play that one song. You're like, oh yeah, like this is okay. Him and Uncle Charlie Wilson, love it.
Like I said, his feature game will be strong. But it is one of those ones where you might have to sit back and hopefully he just plays 20 hits instead of playing like his 20 favorite songs. Because then we'll be here. Then I might just turn it off because I don't remember all these songs. Yeah. And then I know maybe 5 DMX songs because they're on my workout playlist. It's like DMX and Meek Mill get me through my last set.
For sure.
So
I just hope DMX is looking good. I just hope he looks okay. I hope
he might. What was he in most recently? There was something I feel like I saw him in. I don't remember. I feel like I saw him in like a commercial or something or somewhere. It was like I'm DMX, something weird. I don't know. It's
going to be interesting because I'm sure there's going to be some people who have never listened to DMX before in their lives, who are now going to put on DMX in 2020 and be like, wow, this guy has some pretty insensitive things to say. And you're going to be like, you are not the person to comment on this.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, then there's also like DMX is just a different character because like every album starts with a prayer. And like, if you know DMX is like, he's like, he can actually pray really well. Like just his connection.
Those albums make you want
whatever.
Like,
it's just like he has like this interesting connection with God where you're just like, and then you listen to his songs and you're like, you're so like this just jumbled person going on inside, and you're yelling the whole time. And I just want to know where it comes from. Where's the energy?
Is he still the only rapper to have 2 #1 Billboard albums in the same calendar year?
I wouldn't know. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Because he was the first one.
Not too many people put out albums. Now they do because of Spotify and Apple Music. I mean, the baby.
Yeah, this is not an album; it's a playlist. First of all,
Wow.
shit like that. Because
Good call. I never thought about that.
there's these weird bundles and all this like goofy stuff you can do for albums. But
Hmm.
like DMX literally had to put out he put out 2 full-length albums in a calendar
Yeah.
year that both went #1, and it was definitely the first time uh, a rapper had done that, and it might be the only time because I don't know of any other rapper who's put out 2 actual releases
Yeah, that's
in
pretty
the
hard to
same
do.
year.
That is pretty hard to do. I
But
mean, maybe Lil Wayne. I mean, mixtape Wayne was different.
oh, I mean, we don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a week's
Um,
worth of episodes right there.
yeah.
But yeah,
So, I mean, who you got though? I guess
I
question. Who
got
you got?
Snoop,
You
and
got
it's just
Snoop?
like, and I hate that it's like the battle of the dog. I'm like, what? Like
Yeah. Mm.
DMX,
So
DMX
are we
calls himself.
mad? But are we mad that we're missing out on the Ti 50 Cent one?
I don't know, cause like I think Ti beats him again because he had a little more longevity, I
Yeah.
guess.
So the
And
one
the
with that
South
one
is
is
fresher in people's minds in
yeah,
terms of
and I
recency.
think the one with that one though is 50 Cent will sneak you with a lot of songs you forgot about because his career was so good in the beginning, and it was like it was here and then it came down, but he's in the middle. It was still good, but it just started to
Yeah,
go down. Ti was kind of like more like the stock market where it like shot up early and then it was like we'll just funnel here and then we'll peak and then we'll funnel and then we'll peak. So I think I would give it to Ti in that sense. Like you said, longevity, and also it depends on when you play your good songs and when you don't. Like,
well, and 50 probably would have trolled him too. 50 would have played Iggy Azalea the first 3 songs just to
oh,
be a dick.
probably, yeah,
Like just to be like, hey, remember this one, Ti? And then
yeah,
would just play Iggy Azalea, and everyone's like, shit,
and
50 Cent
then he
did
would be
win.
like, he could play like half of Get Rich or Die Trying. Everybody's like, this was the best album ever, and you forget
Yeah,
about that. As far as Snoop and DMX goes, I lean more towards the DMX side.
I
As a
love DMX.
fan, I
Yeah,
think DMX is the better rapper. Catalog to catalog, I think you probably have to go Snoop
it's
because
just
of the
hard.
longevity and because of the consistency throughout the 90s and 2000s. But yeah, I
Like Snoop's gonna play Vato, and everyone's gonna be like, oh, I forgot about this song.
yeah, it's gonna be a lot of songs that you forgot about Snoop. Even like his features, you're gonna be like, I forgot Snoop was on this. I forgot Snoop
I
was
hope
on
Swizz is there with DMX.
Oh,
I think
somebody's got to be there with DMX. By
I
the
think
way,
legally.
somebody's got to be there. If he doesn't, here's the thing: if he starts it off with a prayer, DMX wins. If they let DMX
I
start off with
love.
a
Yeah,
prayer,
you know what?
then it's
Yeah,
over.
yeah.
I got DMX. If
Are
they
there
don't let,
rules? Are there like
so
rules
there's
to it?
like gentleman agreements that I think some of the guys have had between each other, where it's like I think Jadakiss and Fabulous was like, "Oh, we're gonna play these songs first,
Yeah, for sure.
and kind of keep it gritty." And I think Fabulous kind of went along with it just to be like, just to make it fair, because
Okay.
he could have dusted
Jadakiss needed
him.
it more than
Yeah, he
Fabulous.
could have dusted him, and you're just like, you left this song there, you left that song there. And I think somebody else had like a gentleman's agreement to only play
Well,
certain
Nelly
songs
played
or
his
something
own.
like that.
Nelly played one new song in the Ludacris battle, and
Yeah,
everyone was like, "What the fuck are
yeah.
you
The
doing?"
weird part is like Nelly was in his basement. This is the best part. Nelly was in his basement and blamed his Wi-Fi on like the storm. And I was like, I've never heard of anybody's Wi-Fi going out because of the storm,
Oh
unless you got
man.
a dish, unless
Yeah.
you got like satellite internet. I was like, usually your Wi-Fi pretty stable. It's
You're
cable, it's
fine.
the dish that goes
You
out.
should have
But
a T1 connection, Nelly.
he should
You
have.
can afford a
I was like,
T1 connection.
you can't have bad Wi-Fi. Like,
Nelly, imagine going to Nelly's house and trying to watch a video on your phone and having to go to the kitchen because you don't have good enough signal in the
because
basement.
his router is not reaching to the other end of the
He's like, you
house.
just gotta watch it near the router. What? Stop being a dick about it.
It's
Oh
like you
man,
buy a house that big, you gotta at least like buy some
you need 2
extenders.
routers. Yeah,
Yeah, or just
you need the extenders. I'm
just
just
buy
trying to
some
get to the
extenders.
point. So I'm lucky enough to randomly have a backyard at my apartment complex in Los Angeles.
Nice,
Very rare out here. No
nice.
grass, but the yard is there.
Oh, little patio action. I like it.
Yeah, it's dirt / cement. You know what it is. But I'm just hoping I can someday get Wi-Fi out there. That's how I'll know I'm.
You guys don't have like free internet in LA, like
Nah.
Wi-Fi. You guys don't
Spectrum,
set up.
sir. Spectrum. So
I also have Spectrum, and
Spectrum is the
it's
devil.
it's terrible. It's
Spectrum
bad.
is horrible. Like it goes out every 4 days. So my one friend, if he doesn't pay his bill like 3 hours after it's due, they'll just shut his shit off.
Nice.
Like,
LA's legit when it comes to their money,
man,
boy. I tell you,
I'll tell you
that's
one thing.
crazy.
People pretend that Los Angeles and California is this very liberal bastion of a place. It is firmly not.
That's the country. That is the country.
Yeah, that's true.
You know that, right? Yeah.
It's firmly not, but that's another topic for another episode. Is there
Oh,
anything
yeah.
you'd like to close this ep out with? We got some editing we got to do because my computer died, but it's gonna look good. The beat switch is gonna look great on the video.
Oh yeah, especially for the background. You got the sweet podcasting mic that you're holding. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Like straight radio cast from
Man, we do the Clippers one 5 days a week, and I just have to, because of stand up, I feel more comfortable holding the mic, and so I just hold the mic the whole time.
That's what's up. No.
Ralph Lawler, old Clippers announcer, would hold the mic every single game he announced. He was announced for 40 years. I think
he probably was like moving around like, oh, what a shot. And he probably didn't want to lose the sound. He probably realized that mics can pick up different ranges of sound now, as opposed to 40 years ago when it was, unilateral.
But yeah, anything you want to end on real quick? Any shout outs you want to give?
Shout out to everybody who listened, who follows the new pages, the new 20 page on Twitter, Instagram. Maybe we'll make a Facebook. I don't know.
Man, Facebook. I forgot about
people use Facebook. I feel like we would get a lot of like family support if we put this on Facebook. I also don't. I'm also not there yet. Yeah, I'm like maybe if we get.
So
what if we put a threshold on it? Like if we get like 100 followers on Instagram, and if we get 100 Instagram followers, then we'll put this on Facebook, and that's what we'll do.
I have a Clippers podcast, which is a dedicated Clippers podcast. My buddy and I host it 5 days a week. We're at the games. My dad tried to listen to it, and his review of the podcast was a lot of Clippers talk. And I was like, yeah, what do you want me to do?
That's fair. I think, hey, did he know the title? Like, did it? I'm pretty sure the title says,
he's not
like,
even really a basketball. He was just, it's called Locked On Clippers, but he was like, a lot of Clippers talk. I'm like, yeah.
Called Locked On Clippers.
What do you want me to do?
That's great. I would say, let's shout out the Instagram, Twitter page, _ the new 20's. Follow us there. Listen to us. Created a link tree, so you can follow all of our sites. We are moving this thing, man. We're trying to, make fun in quarantine, have some good fun, and if you guys like it, share, subscribe, all that jazz. Is that what people say on these things?
They definitely. So all that jazz, people pretend like that phrase went away. It's been here forever. So yeah, definitely keep saying all that jazz. But yeah, appreciate everyone listening. We're gonna keep these coming out every Saturday, something like that. Yeah.
So are we going to do this Saturday? So we just do Wednesday and Saturday?
So Wednesday was just kind of the early one to be like, this is what we're all about. And then I think every Saturday is what we're just going to come out with them.
Oh, that's awesome. All right. Well, then.
Unless there's some breaking news that we absolutely need to report.
Oh, we got to do this. Well, we'll cut it and then we'll talk about the breaking news.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sounds good. Oh, man. Thank everybody for hanging out. You can find _ after new 20's. I have been Charles Mockler.
I am Caleb. See you guys next week, or hope you guys check in next week. Peace.
Absolutely. Talk to you later.